All right, welcome to a new video. So, some motorcycle myths, they repeat themselves again and again. They get passed down from generation to generation. And today we want to look at 8 myths plus 3 optional ones. And welcome to the original. So the first myth is ABS. If you use it, your braking distance will be longer. And the short answer to this is yes, it's kind of true, but it's a tricky one. At the 2018 IOP conference, a study showed that at least for one rider, braking without ABS gave higher deceleration. But there's a big but. The tests were under controlled conditions with full focus on that single braking maneuver. An ADAC study, that's a AAA in Germany, says that 21% of all motorcycle accidents could have been avoided with ABS. For single vehicle crashes, it's even 45%. Another study from America showed that bikes with ABS system had about 37 fewer fatal accidents. So what does that mean? That means why you're having this ABS system is because it makes your braking safer. You won't flip your bike. It makes it more controllable, and it makes the bike much easier to handle because none of the wheels is slipping. Yes, the braking distance will be longer in a perfect condition with a very skilled rider. So these are the general conditions. But normally when you have to brake or decelerate like completely, this is in an emergency situation. So I think none of us is able in an emergency situation to control your brakes completely like you're on a racetrack. So yes, the distance is longer, still it's much safer. I guess even Fortnite made a video and he also said the same, so it must be correct, right? Second myth is you need to break in new tires, otherwise you're gonna slid away right from the parking lot. Well, a lot of people say that you have to break in these tires because they have a release agent on the surface, which is not true. So I went to the factory of Pirelli and had a look at this myself, and there's no topping or release agent on the tire. The smooth surface actually comes from the vulcanization process in the factory where the tire is baked. Vulcanization changes the rubber so the molecules don't move freely. And yes, this surface is kind of slippy, especially if you change both tires. So yes, you have to break in your tires, but that's kind of easy. So this surface roughens up like, a half a mile, for example. But the problem is you need to roughen it up across the whole tire. So what you should do is just drive in a straight, decelerate, accelerate a little bit so the tires warm up, and then start these little curves on the bike and then go further into the lean angle step by step, because yes, it can be slippy. This myth is true. Third myth is loud pipes save lives. Well, I mean, this is a myth you can also find printed on t-shirts. So a lot of people claim that if your bike is really loud, people are going to notice you more, so they don't oversee you and overrun you. Well, a loud exhaust will make you more noticeable for the better or the worse. But will the driver who is about to hit you actually hear you more? Inside a car or truck, maybe with music playing, I really doubt it. Even if they could hear you, it's gonna be really hard to tell from which direction you're coming, especially if you're coming towards them. So I think, nah, probably they're not safer. On the other hand, a loud exhaust will make you more noticeable. That's correct. So the problem is I didn't found any study that showcases like, yes, cars or trucks won't hit you, will hit you less when your bike is loud. So, but still, because you are more noticeable, I'll give it a plausible. The fourth myth is that textile gear is as safe as leather. And the easy answer to this is no, it's not. But I guess it's a wrong question. The real question should be, is textile gear as safe as leather when riding on the street? Or is it enough safe for riding on the street? And this I would answer with a clear yes. Leather, of course, has a high abrasion resistance, but do you need that on the street? Well, not really. Up to 100 kilometers per hour, aramid fibers and similar materials hold up well enough to avoid serious burns. Impact protection is more important because injuries like a torn aorta are what kills you. With the same protectors, textile can protect you just as well if it fits as snugly as leather. The problem is, I've never found textile gear that fits as tight as a one-piece leather suit, for example. Textile does have big advantages. It's more comfortable, it's lighter, it's less tiring, and often waterproof. So it's obviously a solid choice for riding on the street to wear textile gear. Still, the saying that textile gear is as safe as leather is not true. The fifth myth is that unlubricated chains last as long as the ones who got maintenance. And that's kind of tricky because new modern chains like the O-ring and X-ring chains, they have this lubrication inside. And even if you maintain your chain properly, you will not refill this grease inside, and it shouldn't leave at all in the first place. And if you look at these new kind of chains from Regina with these DLC coating, they really last a long period of time even without maintenance. So I can see where this one comes from. But here's the problem. Without care, the chain will rust outside, and those rust particles can damage your O-rings and X-rings. Once that happens, the chain's done. Also, a study shows that dry chains lose more efficiency, up to 4%. So yes, you will have less power. They also heat up more, which can damage the rings, and they are noisier and less smooth. To be honest with you, I never tried and will never try to drive with an unlubricated chain. The engineer in me is just puking. I'm sorry, I can't do that. No, I'm not going to do that. So it's very hard to tell. So if you never drive in the rain, you never ride on dirty streets or with a lot of sand, you might get a lot of miles out of an unlubricated chains, but I really doubt that you get exactly the same distance. Maybe it's cheaper to be careful with the unlubricated chain and save the money for all the grease and oil. But yeah, I can't do that. Still, the myth, it's maybe plausible. The sixth myth, and this is, I'm very sorry, it's very common among riders with a certain age, and they say riding experience on the street only will give you the experience you need and will make you a better rider. And whenever someone tells me, oh, I'm riding a motorcycle since 30 or 40 years, I'm rolling my eyes inside because that does not tell anything about how good of a rider you are. Maybe you just drove like 5,000 miles and 40,000 kilometers or miles. I will hardly call you a biker. So that doesn't say anything. Plus, if you're not visiting trainings, you will not increase your skill. It's even the opposite. Without training, you will develop bad habits. You won't improve and you won't know your or your bike's limits. You only learn your limits by reaching them, ideally on a training ground or a racetrack. So riding experience plus training will make you a better biker for sure. Watching my videos alone won't help either. So very sorry. You have to go ride your bike. You have to go to the trainings, or otherwise you will be stuck on your skill level. This myth is clearly busted. The seventh myth is that the rear brake is useless on the street. Where does this come from? Well, in a braking situation where you throw your anchor, 70 to 90% of the deceleration will be handled by the front wheel. That's correct, yes. But your rear wheel or your rear brake also has important issues to handle. The rear brake is important for stability when braking. It stops the rear from lifting or sliding and makes braking much smoother. Most importantly, at low speeds, dragging the rear brake greatly increases stability, perfect for hairpins, turning and slow riding in general. You can also test how the different brakes are influencing your geometry by just parking in a small hill. Then you pull the front brake, then press the rear brake and release the front, and then switch. This one works uphill and downhill, and it shows the difference of the effects of the brakes. So no, the rear brake is not useless on the street at all. This myth is clearly busted. Last but not least, they say that in the rain you should never ride on these white or yellow markings on the street. And well, it's true that these markings offer less grip than the normal asphalt. And I show you this formula, it's in German, but it says that the maximum of grip you get from two things. First one is the traction, and the second one is the downforce. So in rain in general, the traction is reduced, and yes, on these markings, the traction is reduced even more. It's the same for metal bridge joints or manhole covers. In the rain, leaning on them can be very slippery. But don't try to avoid them suddenly. That's just as dangerous as riding over them. If you can, reduce your lean angle briefly or avoid them ahead of time. But this myth is true. I also busted 3 more myths, and I need to think which one I made a video in English. So first one is that wider tires have more grip than small tires. And for this, I read the documents from 2 doctors who made a PhD. Also needed the help of my brother, who was a PhD in aviation and space stuff. So I'm just a normal engineer, but he got his PhD. So we went in this together, and no, wider tire does not have more maximum amount of grip. The easiest answer to this is like I got 180 here and 120 here. Why can I ride 60-degree lean angle when I need this tire, but I also got just a small one in the front? So this makes no sense. The big tire has one big advantage for those of you who don't want to watch the German video with subtitles. It can take up more heat. So with a 180 or 180 and a 200 tire in the rear, you can both ride like a 60-degree lean angle. With a small one, you can do it for like, I don't know, 200 meters, and the big one 300 meters, for just an example. So it can take up more heat, and the lean angle is more consistent for a longer period of time, but that's it. The other myth was like when your helmet drops down from your seat, that it's destroyed, and in 99%, it's not. If it's not hitting some really hard, pointy surface, nothing will happen. Your helmet is made out of an outer shell and the inner liner, which is called polystyrol. That's very hard to describe actually. I just said a Mrs. Busted, and you can click on the German video. Because I tested it, I have thrown helmets around, cut them open, and I also read a lot of studies on it, so no, it's not true. And the last one was like trail braking is not made for street use, it's just for racetracks. And no, I don't think so. Yes, it's a technique for advanced riders, but still, if you use it, and we look again at this formula, you can, with trail braking, you're going to increase the amount of downforce on your front wheel, which will generate more grip. You won't have more, your tire won't have more grip overall, but you will use more of its capabilities. So I think I made the video in English here, so just check it here. Also, I'm gonna do this as my main job, and today I lost my hard drive. I had a 20 terabyte hard drive, and it gave up today, and I won't be able to recover the data. So I'm basically, yeah, in a panic mode. I wrote all the companies who build these NAS systems if they might send me one. I lost a lot of video footage, so I'm very sorry that you miss out 1 or 2 videos in English. Maybe you want to look at the German channel and use subtitles or YouTube translation if you don't mind. Yeah, otherwise, thank you for watching, and see you the next time.